All right, let's talk about one of the biggest ironies of our time. We're going to dive into this really strange paradox. The very technology we all rely on to stay cool is actually making our entire planet hotter. So, that leads us to this massive question. As temperatures climb, what do? We crank up the cooling, but that uses a ton of energy, which in turn makes the climate situation even worse. You can see the problem, right? It's this vicious feedback loop, and we absolutely have to figure out how to break it. You know, air conditioning isn't just about comfort anymore. For billions of people, it's becoming a genuine necessity for health and survival. But as that demand just explodes, it's putting a huge strain on our power grids and really challenging our climate goals.
So, what's really driving this paradox? Well, it pretty much boils down to two main things. On one hand, you've got the technology itself, and on the other, you've got these flawed economic policies that, believe it or not, actually push us to make the most wasteful choices.
Okay, so picture this. You walk into a store to buy an AC unit. This is the choice you're usually facing. Over here, you've got the cheap, inefficient model. It's easy on the wallet today, but it's going to be a total nightmare for your electricity bill and for the planet down the road. And then over here, you have the efficient one. It's more expensive to buy, sure, but it costs way less to run, and it's so much better for the environment. That initial price tag, though, that's a really big hurdle for most people.
So, what happens to all those inefficient ACs? Well, when a developed country bans them because they're just too wasteful, they don't just disappear. They often get shipped off and sold in developing countries. This creates what experts call dumping grounds, and it locks those places into high energy costs and emissions for decades to come. Now let's switch gears and talk about the other side of this coin, the flawed economics. And it all kicks off with something called an energy subsidy. Basically, this is when a government steps in to make electricity artificially cheap for everyone. I mean, it sounds pretty good, right? Who doesn't want cheaper power? But it's not quite that simple. This quote from a World Bank report really hits the nail on the head. A universal subsidy, one that everybody gets, is regressive. That's just a fancy way of saying it actually helps rich people a lot more than it helps poor people. Let's dig into why that is. And this chart just lays it all out. Crystal clear. The wealthiest households? Well, they use the most electricity. They have bigger houses, more gadgets, more ACs. So when the government lowers the price for everyone, who gets the biggest chunk of that discount? They do. It's a system where the rich get a huge benefit and the poorest households get next to nothing. And this right here is what's known as the subsidy trap. Think about it. If your electricity is super cheap, why would you ever spend extra money on an energy-efficient air conditioner? The cheaper, inefficient one seems like a total no-brainer. And just like that, you're locked into years and years of energy waste. So, okay, we've got a mess on our hands. Bad tech and bad policies feeding into each other. But the good news is, the solution is actually pretty straightforward. We just have to tackle both problems at the exact same time. It's really a two-step plan. First, you mandate better technology with smarter rules. Second, you fix the broken economics so that people are actually encouraged to make those smarter choices. Let's see how that works in practice. And this isn't just about patching up a problem. It's about totally redesigning the system. Because with the right policies in place, you can kickstart a virtuous cycle, a positive feedback loop of innovation and efficiency. First up, let's talk about the tech. We need smarter rules. The most important tool in the toolbox here is something called MEPS. It stands for Minimum Energy Performance Standards. It's really simple. The government just sets a baseline for efficiency, and any product that falls below that line is banned from being sold. It's a simple idea, but incredibly powerful. This table shows you exactly how MEPS cleans up the marketplace. It just gets rid of all the worst performing junk. It raises the bar for every single product on the shelf. And it's probably the single most effective way to stop a country from becoming a dumping ground for obsolete technology. And look, modern standards go beyond just energy use. They also go after the refrigerant gases inside the ACs, phasing out the ones that are super potent greenhouse gases. It's all about aligning with big international goals, like the Kigali Amendment, and making cooling truly sustainable. Now for the other half of the puzzle, fixing the prices. If MEPS gives us better options to choose from, then subsidy reform gives us the actual incentive to pick them. Let me put it this way. Imagine if gas was subsidized down to, say, 50 cents a gallon. Would you really go out of your way to buy a fuel-efficient car? Probably not, right? You'd just drive whatever. Well, that's exactly the problem we have with artificially cheap electricity. It just kills any incentive to save energy. But, and this is super important, this is not about hurting the poor. Smart reform gets rid of those inefficient universal subsidies and replaces them with targeted support, like direct cash payments. That way, the help actually goes to the people who need it the most. It's all about being both fair and effective. And this is where it all comes together. This is the win-win. Smarter rules give us better products on the market, and smarter prices give us a real reason to buy them. This creates that virtuous cycle we were talking about, one that leads to better, cleaner, and ultimately cheaper cooling for everybody.
So, the next time you see an appliance or an energy label, just take a second to think about all the invisible policies that are shaping that choice for you. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other hidden rules and incentives are quietly influencing the decisions we make every single day for ourselves and for the future of our planet?